So this thing with Ukraine, um, you know, a lot of people want to encourage Ukraine. Hey, be the underdog. Fight Russia. Whatever. But the reality is that Russia has more tanks, more air support, whatever, more soldiers. There's no way that Ukraine's ever going to win unless if other countries get involved, obviously. Um, but the reality is we need to stop encouraging Ukraine, and the reason for that is it's pretty simple. Um, Russia's been sitting on nukes for a long time. They've threatened to use nukes before. They probably know what the outcome of using nukes is going to be. But the reality is if we do not discourage Ukraine from continuing the fight, uh, United States, NATO, UN, whatever, somebody's going to have to get involved, and more than likely it'll end up being. Uh, there's a few things that can happen here. There's about 4 or 5 different scenarios. Scenario number one is things continue going the way they're going, and uh, the Allied forces step in and help Ukraine, and it becomes a world war, and it'll be probably will be worse than World War II, because my fear, and I'm sure that a lot of other people that are like-minded, we know that China is going to get involved with Russia because they're neighbors. They're side by side. Um, China will get involved, and they will probably be behind the Russians. And you take the Chinese armed forces and the Russian armed forces, and there is no way that they could take over the entire world. There's just no way. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is that maybe we get involved, right? Uh, Allied nations get involved. China doesn't get involved. Um, but still, you're looking at another Vietnam. Sometimes it's a lot worse. You're not dealing with guerrilla warfare in a jungle with these people that don't really have an army to begin with. Um, you're looking at modern military, which would be Russia versus you know Allied forces. And it's very possible that Allied forces would win. Maybe not, but it'd be something that would go on for years. It would be another Vietnam. There would be a lot of lives lost over a pointless war. Um, and then there's scenario number three. Um, Scenario number three is Russia uses nukes. And this is where it gets really, really scary. In 1945, when we dropped nukes on Japan, those were really small nukes. Um, they weren't. They were nothing like what we have today. I think what we have today is like 1,000 or 10,000 times as strong, maybe more than that. I'm not an expert on any of this. This is just I'm somebody that has common sense. But when we dropped the bombs on Japan in 1945, it actually cracked the Earth's crust, which probably has caused issues today with, earthquakes, volcanoes, whatever. But if and when a larger bomb, like a modern nuclear bomb, hits the Earth, wherever it may hit it, it's going to crack the Earth's crust, and it's going to destabilize the Earth's crust. And you're talking about massive earthquakes. massive volcanoes. And a lot of people think about this as, oh, well, that's just a movie scenario. No, this is actually real. I'm not somebody that's very educated in these things, but I'm educated enough to know that this could actually happen. This is what people don't really think about. They think about, oh, well, if a nuke hits, there'll be nuclear fallout and all this other stuff. There may never be any fallout, because if it cracks the Earth's crust, and destabilizes the Earth's crust, you're talking, like I said, you're talking about massive earthquakes, on a global scale. We're talking about, just things you've seen in movies. I think it was Day After Tomorrow in a movie called 2012, I want to say.